Hello students, welcome back. We are going to resume classes under week 6 right here, and is MS Excel Module 3 courses objectives will be formatting values, changing font and font size, aligning and applying different styles, adjusting column width, insert and delete rows. So I'm going to go through all those, applying just different patterns and borders through the worksheet, applying conditional formatting and renaming and moving worksheets, and obviously the last thing will be checking your spell check. Okay, now here I'm gonna have you start with Hensan, which is the Excel pages 52 to 69 complete Hensan. You will need the 3.1 that you will have to download before you can go through these pages over here. Okay, now some of you may have done this, so then that means you're done. So move on to the independent challenge 1, and that's the one that I'm going to do as a lecture. And I picked the independent challenge as a lecture because the hands-on over here goes step by step. So obviously the independent challenge is asking you to do and things, perform some of the steps without telling you how, and that's why I'm going to go through the independent challenge 1 on page Excel 73 and 74. So for this page on the textbook, is going to ask you to open 3.3, so I'm just going to download it over here, and then it's going to ask you to obviously to save it with a different name. The name that they're asking you to do here is EX3 refers to your inventory. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just going to go through the main points here. So I'm going to enable anything. I downloaded. So just remember, if you were to save this, you would do file, you would do save as, browse. I'm not sure where you're saving, but you do have a USB that we gave you within the class to save your work. So I'm just going to go and do downloads for me. And then here I'm going to change the name to fresh to you inventory, and then I'm just going to click on save. Okay, so that's the first thing you do, saving. Another thing is asking you to do B on page 73 is asking you to create a formula under the E column, which is E4 over here, and it's asking you to create a formula that calculates the value of the items in stock based on the price paid. So for example, this is the price paid and this is the quantity on hand. That's what it means. So then I'm going to do equal sign. As always, our formulas always start with the equal sign. I'm going to do the price, and then I'm going to multiply by the quantity, and then just click enter, and again just do the fill handle, and there you go. Okay, the next thing they're going to ask you to do in this project is to do the sale value of items in stock, and they want you to do an absolute reference formula here. That's where you add the dollar sign on the second part of the formula, and I'm going to show you how that's done. To the markup value shown, and I'm reading, by the way, step C. It says in cell F4, calculate the sale value of the items in stock using an absolute reference to the markup value shown in cell H1. So again, equal sign. Then you will do, this is what we have in hands, and then you're going to multiply by this, which is the markup, and then you're going to hit enter, and now it's giving it to you. Now remember, I explained this in class that because we're multiplying all these numbers with the markup, which is 1.35, you can't just do the fill handle because it won't work. Okay, because we want to make sure that this stays the H1 and the formula remains the same. So multiply all this by H1. We're going to add the dollar sign before and after the H on the second part of the formula. So your formula should read as follows. On F4 should be equal sign E4 times dollar sign H dollar sign 1, and then I'm just going to hit enter, and I'm going to go back and I'm just going to do the fill handle again, and there you go. Okay, the other thing they're going to ask you to do is to highlight these two values on these two columns and apply the dollar sign, which is called the accounting number format, and you're just going to click on it, and then we're going to set up to 2 decimals just to make sure that this is increase, this is decrease. I'm going to increase and then decrease, making sure everything is 2 decimals. They're also going to ask you on hand to do, on press pay, they're going to ask you just to apply the comma, okay, just to make it into decimals, okay. Another thing they're going to ask you to do is to select column A to maybe H and apply where you can apply for these columns to have the same column width, or just to make sure everything fits nicely. Either way, so because I did select them, I can double click on any of the column between A and B, C or D. If I double click, they all get to be nicely where everything fits nicely here. Or you can just select from A to H and then give them a column width for them to be the same. So I'm going to do 17.0 and click OK to see if that works. Okay, so that means everything is the same column, but as you see, column A still doesn't fit nicely. So you can just double click and make sure that everything fits on column A. This, I can make them smaller if I wanted. I'm going to do column width. Maybe I give them a 12.0 and then it's not that big, okay? So the other thing they're going to ask you to do is to select all the titles and subtitles and make it bold. And then if you want to be creative, you can change it to size 14, a different type of font. That's one of the objectives anyways. And then maybe you want to give them some color, and I'm not sure. Okay, so there's different things that they're going to ask you to do, but this is your font group where you actually make the formatting changes. Another thing that they're going to ask you on this project is to select A3 and all the way to A14 and add a border. So the borders are right here under the font, and the border will be, I'm going to click in here, the thick outside border right there. Okay, so there's different things they're going to ask you to do. Now, the on hand, which is the quantity, they're going to ask you to do conditional formatting. They're going to ask you to do different things. So the first one, they're going to say, okay, highlight from D4 all the D14, and then go to the conditional formatting, and you're going to say less than 25. And then they want it to be, I believe, the yellow field with dark yellow text, and then you click OK. All right, so if that's the one, and they're also going to ask you to apply the different icons for the formatting. So you go to the icons. You can apply any icons. The ones that they apply are these little flags over here. And that's one of the things that they're going to ask you to do. Okay. And then naming the worksheet, double clicking, or remember you can right click and rename. And we're just gonna say, let's see, not sure if they ask you in particular what to add. We're just gonna say items, and click enter. And then remember, to add a color, you're gonna right click, tap color, and you can add any color of your choice. Doesn't matter, okay? They're also going to ask you to delete rows and add rows. So for example, if they ask you to delete row 5, so you will click on the 5, right click and say delete, and that row will go away. Now, they ask you to, in between one of these rows, to add another one. Just let's say if they ask you to do 1 before 7, so you will click on insert, and now you get a different one. And then you type that information that they're actually going to give you, okay? So that's pretty much it with this independent challenge 1. So they're going to ask you to download the data file, to resave it, to do these two formulas over here. They're going to ask you to add the accounting number format, which again is the $, to play a little bit with the increase and decrease decimals to apply the comma to the prepaid information here, these values, to do conditional formatting. There's different types of conditional formatting that you can apply. And this one, we apply the less than 25 and also some of the flex that we added, okay? They're also going to ask you to do some formatting using the format. Again, you can use any color, just leave it on black or just bold, that type of thing, okay? The items in here to be border, so I changed that. I select the range and I just went to the thick outside border. Okay, now you can delete and add by clicking on the row. You can say insert or delete, double clicking to double click with the worksheet and name it, and then the tab. If you have any questions on this chapter, just let me know, and we can go and schedule a meeting with you individually, obviously, and I can go through some of these any concept that you just don't understand, that I'm more than happy to explain it to you. Thank you so much, and just let me know if you have any questions.